Okay. Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video, folks. Today we are predicting, League One predictions for the 2026-27. We've done the Premier League and the Championship, and now it's League One. I know tomorrow it's the EFL Cup. Tomorrow when Bristol City taking on Warsaw. So we can't. And on Friday will be. Friday will be Wycombe versus Stevenage, Middlesbrough versus Wrexham, and then Wolves versus Port Vale. And then Saturday, Cambridge United versus Barnet, QPR Millwall, Norwich versus MK Dons, Fleetwood versus Chesterfield, Burton versus Blackburn Rovers, Bromley versus Reading. Bromley, who knocked out Ipswich, of course, last year, one of the biggest shocks of the tournament. FC Wimbledon versus Newport, Salford City, Shrewsbury, Swansea versus Birmingham, Stockport, Doncaster, Barnsley, Wigan, Stoke, Oddman, Cardiff, Swindon, Bradford City versus Rochdale, Sheffield Wednesday versus Bolton, Derby County versus Lincoln City, West Ham versus Portsmouth, Bristol Rovers versus Peterborough, Leyton Orient versus Oxford, Preston versus Huddersfield, Burnley, Notts County, Gillingham versus Luton, Grimsby, who knocked out Manchester United last season, they'll take on Blackpool, Crewe versus Accrington Stanley, Leicester City versus Northampton, Watford versus Crawley Town, Colchester versus Southampton, Cheltenham versus Charlton, Rotherham versus West Brom, Mansfield versus Sheffield United, and Plymouth versus Exeter City and Breve. So before you get into the YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. And League One campaign starting next week. I just cannot wait. Right, first up, let's do it on the top tier list, of course. First tier list of doing League One. Before we get into YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. And guys, please leave on your comments below, guys. And let's do from 1 to 24 predictions. Right, okay. Right, okay then. Right, let's do it in order. Alphabetical order. Starting with AFC Wimbledon. So I predicted AFC Wimbledon to get relegated. Barnsley I predicted to probably finish 13th. And then Blackpool I predicted to probably finish 11th. And did some business transfers windows throughout the summer, of course. Right. And Bradford City will finish probably 8th. Of course, they'll be in around of the playoffs. Of course, been around in around there. So I think I'm going for Bradford City and Bromley Football Club. Good to see Bromley Football Club. Promote. League Two winners last season and got promoted to League One. A new experience for Bromley Football Club. And a top striker, Michael Cheek. So interesting how a lot of people predicted Bromley will get relegated. So I think Bromley will probably stay up, of course, as probably a local. But anyway, yes. Anyway, I live in Craven, but it's not too far away, Bromley. So I predicted Bromley to stay up. And Burton Albion, sorry. I think they're going down. Cambridge United, they're just going to go down as well. Doncaster, probably 17th as well, yeah. And Huddersfield will finish around the playoffs. And Leicester City, who would have thought Leicester City suffering back-to-back Premier League, back-to-back relegations in the Premier League and the Championship. And remember, former Premier League champions, of course, you know, including the likes of Jamie Vardy back in the day. So they'll always be the favourites to go straight back up. But I think they will just, you know, win the League One title and get promoted. And Leyton Orient, of course, I think they will struggle. I think they will struggle anyway. Sorry, Leyton. I think they are going down. Luton Town to probably finish third, somewhere around there. They could get, you know, automatic promotion, but I think they will fall short. And Mansfield Town, good football club, but I think Mansfield will finish 16th. And MK Dons, wow, MK Dons, good to see them back in League One for a long time. But I think MK Dons will have a good season, but I think they'll finish 7th. Right, next up, Notts County. Good to see them back. Notts County in League One, of course, along with Bromley, Cambridge, and Notts County, and MK Dons. But I think Notts County will finish 19th, and Oxford United, let's go for them to finish 10th, somewhere around there. And then, right, Peterborough. I'm going with Peterborough to finish 18th. And Plymouth Argyle to finish 4th. Reading to finish 12th. Sheffield Wednesday to probably finish 2nd. I think they'll be the favourites, of course. But despite that, you know, minus deduction, of course, after an awful season in the Championship last season. Stevenage missed out on the playoffs, but sorry, I think Stevenage will finish 15th. Stockport will finish 5th, and Wigan Athletic, of course, will finish 14th. And Wycombe Wanderers will finish 9th. So that's my League One predictions then. For the 2026-27. Leave on the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. But you know, all these darts, just quick update, all darts players are taking a break before the World Series returns to New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand first in Auckland. So the PDC players are Jan van Veen, Gerwin Price, Stephen Bunting, James Wade, Johnny Clayton, Josh Rock, Ross Smith and Damon Hatter. And then the Australian representatives are Adam Leake, Simon Whitlock, Ben Robb, Johnny Tata, Mark Cleaver, Caden Mile, Hupai Puha and Raymond Smith. And then the Australian Darts Masters, same, Van Veen, Clayton, Wade, Rock, Price, Bunting, Ross Smith and Damon Hatter. And then PDC, and then Adam Leake, Simon Whitlock, Raymond Smith, Brody Clinch, Tim Pusey, Joe Comito, Mal Cumming, and who replaces Darren Penhall with withdrawal due to a shoulder injury. And then Ben Robb. Right. let's talk about Luke Littler. Let's talk about, where does Luke Littler's World Matchplay triumph rank alongside the greatest ever major tournament performances of Phil Taylor and Michael van Gerwen? Paul Nicholson said Luke Littler's World Matchplay defence was statistically the greatest ever seen in Blackpool in this week's column. Paul Nicholson assesses whether it's also been ranked as the best major performance of all time. If you ever told me I was going to witness a major tournament performance mightier than Phil Taylor's legendary 2009 European Championship, I would have laughed. But I never believed it was possible, even since Luke Littler burst onto the scene, because the power's relentless consistency that weekend was from another planet. So statistically, Taylor's average of 111.54 across his 5 matches still edges Luke Littler's 111.05 at the Winter Gardens. But darts isn't played on the spreadsheet, but when you played in a length of matches, the quality of the opposition, of relentless consistency and sheer volume of brilliance across the entire week. But Littler's 2026 World Matchplay campaign has become the greatest tournament performance I ever seen. Why was Taylor's 2009 Euros so special? I wrote a comment about tournament several years ago for Sporting Life. When I said I really can't see anyone eclipsing this record, but in either the European Championship or another comparable weekend major. By comparable weekend major, I was taught about events where the majority of matches are consisted around the best of 19 format. I wasn't even contemplating it being possible in a longer format tournament than last a week or much as the Grand Slam of Darts, World Matchplay or the World Championship. The 2009 European Championship came in a period when Taylor walked around venues where an era of invincibility, just like Littler does now. I was there, and nobody realistically was touching him on a regular basis. Anytime he got beaten in this area, but it was a story in itself. He was picking and choosing his events, and focus predominantly on the majors was constantly fresh, and he had it all cracked, but he knew what he needed to do at his age and skilled level to beat everyone in front of him. But it was almost demolishing for everyone else. But what do we have to do to beat him? Does this sound familiar? But he fell 2-0 down against Grebe in the opening match before averaging 111.03 in a 6-2 win before battering Robert Thornton 9-0 with an average of 110.88. When Anderson turned up in the quarters, you could tell he fancied his chances as produced a brilliant 106 average, but even it was nowhere near good enough, and Taylor's 118.14 was a world record average at the time, although he did break that the following year at the UK Open with 118.66 against Kevin Painter. Taylor averaged 109.36, 11-3 victory over Jelle Klaassen, and then 109.35, thrashing Steve Beaton by the same scoreline later that evening, at the same evening for the title. Jelle Klaassen averaged 98 in the semi-finals, but which those dart balls at the time was an excellent standard, but it simply wasn't enough. So statistically for the major tournament, it remains top of the pile with an average of 111.54. He won 14 legs, lost 11, averaged 111.54 and threw 37 maximums. But subjectively, I can't believe I'm about to to write it, Littler's World Matchplay is number 1. Why Littler's World Matchplay is the greatest of all time. Coming into the World Matchplay, we wondered whether anybody could expose Luke Littler over the longer format. He had slow starts in previous years, and perhaps that wouldn't give anybody an opening. But instead, he never looked like being in a serious trouble, even when Nico Sprinter nudged ahead earlier on, or when Nathan Aspinall stayed on his coattails with a superb performance himself. But what impressed me the most wasn't one spectacular average or one magical session, but it was relentless consistency. After his semi-final against Dirk van Dijvenbode, Littler averaged 110.88 for the match, but at that point, his average for the tournament was also 110.88. But I generally never seen anything like it. Nobody has ever, maintained that level over so many matches and so many legs, but he's obviously maintained it across the final, which lasted another 27 legs. And that's the key difference between Taylor's campaign and Littler's. Taylor's tournament average is fractionally higher, but Littler sustained an extraordinary level for almost twice as many legs. But that matters. One of the biggest reasons people have been calling this is the greatest tournament ever is because of the distance, but he had to maintain it over. But it wasn't a sprint, but it was an endurance test, but he barely dipped. The numbers only tell part of the story, but you also have to remember the moments. 9-darter, astonishing 167 finish against Gerwen Price, just as Price was trying to establish himself in the match. Littler lands the 9, and Luke Littler produces perfection in the opening leg of the match. Absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, we'll be sure, won't we? It's a big ask for Nathan to maintain those levels, and even if he does, he may find it hard to win this game. He'll stand by, need to try and stay in touch and even sneak a lead early doors here, because you do not want to try and chase this gentleman down. And well, there we go. Well, he's already chased it. That was with Luke Littler in the first game. 140. His throw wasn't as quick as this. He's already showing incredible fluency, starting off with 2 maxes on a 9. He's hit one in the first leg of a match.
He was on the 9.
That was on the World Series. This would have clipped up. World Series, Liverpool before that in the first leg of a match against Nathan Aspinall before that was on the World Series. This would have clipped up. Right, it's on as well. Look at this for the start. And now down in the opening leg. And that is for Luke Littler. He's done it again against Nathan Aspinall on the big stage. Applauding, but look at that for a start from the Nuke. But let's all calm down. That is ridiculous. That was special.
Even Wayne Mardle jokes on the commentary that Littler hadn't hit a ball finish all tournaments. Seconds later, he produced one. It's almost became criminal. But you spiteful young man, Luke Littler delivers a crushing 167 checkout to leave Gerwen Price 3-1.
Oh, you like that? Do you like tops, pals?
Oh,
125.
that was a bit close.
167. Oh, you couldn't.
You kidding me?
Oh, you spiteful young man. You spiteful person. That is ridiculous. John, is it one bullseye finish in this tournament?
He has got that done, and now he's opened the floodgates, perhaps.
His scoring was ridiculous, but his records numbers of 180s worked out as almost 0.7, but maximums per leg. To put into context, most entire elite players would be deemed deemed prolific with around 0.3 over a sustained period. But I also never seen anyone use those combinations on the big stage with such confidence. But he's not just playing better than everyone else, but he's making the rest of the sport think differently. Where does Van Gerwen fit? Michael van Gerwen's 2017 World Championship absolutely deserves to be part of this conversation. Winning the World Championship over that format is an enormous achievement, and his tournament average of 106.37 remains phenomenal. He played 158 legs and won 100 of them, and defeated a succession of outstanding opponents. His 114 average against Raymond van Barneveld remains one of the finest matches we've ever seen. But when I compare it to Littler's match play, one thing stands out. Van Gerwen's campaign contained those incredible peaks, and Littler barely had any valleys. Every time you looked up, and he was producing another average around 110 mark. But the range between his best and worst performances across the week was astonishingly small, and that's consistency on a level I never witnessed before. A new benchmark, Phil Taylor's 2009 European Championship. I always deserve its place, its history, and the statistics ensure that. It remains one of the defining achievements of the sport, and he has ever seen, but I don't think anybody should forget that. But after sitting with Chris Mason on Sunday night, reflecting on what we just watched, I keep asking myself the same question. Did that really happen? Because it felt impossible, yet we all seen it. Luke Littler has forced me to rethink something that I've been certainly about for almost 2 decades. Phil Taylor's performance may still edge him on tournament average, but if someone asks me which campaign I ranked as the greatest ever, I'm picking Luke Littler's World Matchplay. I generally never thought that I would live to say it. Luke Littler's average of 111.53 versus Gerwin Price is the highest ever in the World Matchplay. His tournament average of 111.04 also beats Phil Taylor's record of 106.32 from 2010, sorry.
You can go away losing, but gaining it within yourself, can't you? Yeah, actually improving your confidence. Yes. 81 for the title. 125. 51 for 30. 81. Has to go. The bullseye route. That's the championship. Luke Littler, the back-to-back world champion, is now the back-to-back World Matchplay champion. There is nothing that anyone can do about it.
Right, that's my predictions then for League One and the greatest tournament display ever, Luke Littler and Phil Taylor's at his prime. Leave on your comments below, guys, and I will see you tomorrow for League. Tomorrow I'm going to Diggerland with Regrow Together, one of the as a group of people, and then when I come back, maybe I can do like the League 2 predictions and also how to beat Littler for 501k. And when can we say Littler is the GOAT? But he's not the GOAT yet. Phil Taylor is the GOAT. Raymond van Barneveld is the GOAT. Adrian Lewis is the GOAT. Gary Anderson, Eric Bristow, and John Lowe, something like that. So leave them comments below, guys. And we'll see you in the next one. Good night. Peace out.